Good afternoon, everyone. This is Sushikage here, and today we're going to be doing a deck profile. Today's deck is going to be a Herald of Perfection. It's a deck I've picked up again recently because of the release of Saffira in the New Duelist Alliance set. And while Saffira doesn't make the deck ridiculous, it does give it a nice extra kick, which does help it a fair bit. So let's get into it. We've got Triple Herald. That's kind of pretty standard. You have to have it if it's Herald in a deck. It's just obvious. Then you run one Saffira. I've tested this at 3, 2 and 1. I've found that 1 is the best. A lot of other YouTubers have been looking at this lately. Vexcus4666, Olympio. I gotta admit, I do kind of owe Olympio for this because he did find that magic ratio. So props to him for that, because the way he had it balanced works nicest, and I've kind of stuck to using that. We've got Triple Christia. You do have a fair bit of grave control in this deck, so it is quite easy to get him out on the field, and when you throw him down, it is a massive wall and a massive pain for your opponents. And it's also handy the fact he does get you a monster back to your hand from your graveyard, so it does help to fuel the Herald over here. It works really nicely as well for control with Saffira mixed in. For those who don't know Saffira's effect, if you send a light monster from your deck or your hand to the graveyard, then at the end of that turn, whether it is yours or your opponent's turn, you can either add 1 back from your grave to your hand, or you can draw 2 and discard 1. So it makes it really easy to control what's in the grave, making it easier to bring this dude out. Next up, we've got the standard triple Manju. If you're running this deck, Manju's a must. He makes consistency happen. It's as simple as that. If you're not running him, then don't even bother. Next up, I've got 1 Meton the Time Lord text in there. I was originally siding 2, but I have found that 1 in the main and 1 in the side is nice because it gets over a lot of problem cards, especially things like Shadows. The fact you can bounce stuff back is just so useful, and I have won games purely off the burn damage on this guy, because not a lot of people realise his secondary effect burns your opponent for damage for every monster that's bounced back, which is so awesome. You've got the Triple Megami. You need these 3. Some people try and run 2 of this kind of ratio. You need 3 because if you draw into one of them, then you are just really screwed, to be honest. You need them available on the deck. If you do get them stuck in the graveyard, you can bounce them back via effects such as Digusto Emerald, but you need to have them available at times. If you get one in the hand, it's not the end of the world. You can hold on to it and drop it for things like Herald, or drop it for the next card that's coming up here, which is Herald of Orange Light. It does make me sad that I don't have 3 of the Ultra. Sadly, I do have a 3rd Ultra, which is a Japanese one, but of course OCG not playable, but I should be getting a 3rd English one soon. Anyway, yeah, the Herald. So, Herald, because you're not always going to have the Herald of Perfection on the field at all times, so this guy does need to be floating around, because he can be useful at times. Honest, everyone knows that it does, and with Saffira it is pretty hilarious because you can ditch it and then put it back to hand straight over Saffira, giving you an Honest every single turn. It's just pretty lousy. Then the next setup is I have triple Nikotama and triple Oratama. So yes, this is a spirit build. Spirits are quite strong right now, in the mainly because things like Shadows. It's better running a spirit build, I feel, than running the agent build, because you can simply make really nice plays, like summon Nikotama, get an extra normal summon Aratama, or generally any other of one of spirit monsters. There's small spirits coming in a second. If you do get the Aratama out, then you get a search off of it, getting you another Nikotama or a general spirit monster to your hand. So, I mean, that's just double normal. So that leaves you with that 1 special summon to make something to get over that window. So, I mean, that is just so valuable right now. Next up, we've got double Izanami. Really nice plays you can do this. Yet again, a spirit monster, quite handy. You can bring it out on the field, do stuff with it, use its effect, which is very awesome, allowing you to drop cards to put one back from your graveyard to your hand. You can see back a spirit monster. If you drop something like Nikotama, even if you're just going for another one of these at the grave, when this is sent to the grave while you control a spirit monster, you get to draw a card. So you can literally, if you do have one in the grave, just literally drop it, bounce back, do whatever you want, and you get to draw off of that. So you're basically just getting a free draw effectively off a normal summon. That is just really useful, especially if you have something like summon, effect another normal summon, ditch if you've got another one in your hand, draw, overlay. Really nice plays you can do that. A lot of people don't realise that these effects are just there. Setsu. So you can reveal a spirit monster in your hand to bounce. Yet again, handy for getting over those problem monsters, especially things like Winder. It's pretty obvious why this is good. And then my last spirit monster, Yaksha. Very handy because he lets you bounce back one of those back rows, especially you get stuck with things like Lighting Prism Mirror on the field. Of course, being a water, put him out, bounce it back, and then just do stuff. You're pretty much set. Now, the next card, the last monster in the deck, is one that a lot of people do find a bit weird. It's a personal tech option of mine, a tech favourite. It is triple Modolche Angeli. Now, a lot of people will think, what the hell are you doing? Angeli is a really nice card in this deck. Okay, yeah, sure, it's not a light, so you can't kind of get effects off it with Saffira, but it is a fairy, so you can ditch it for things like Herald. On top of that, it's a bit of a consistency maker. I've seen a lot of people playing things like Gel and Duo just because it can't be destroyed by battle. Well, guess what? Summon Angeli, Angeli affect a graveyard, get out another Angeli, put it in defence, even attack if you need to, and that one will just soak up attacks on that next turn because it can't be destroyed by battle because of its effect. So it's a great little wall. But not only is that little wall, but you've also got a bit of a graveyard control element there because you're sending one to the grave after normal summoning it. So it helps you with that count for things like Christia, because Christia needs you to have those fairies in the grave. But on top of that, you are effectively thinning your deck one card. So that is going to help with that consistency. And consistency is very important in this deck. It's what it's all about, really. Anyway, that's the monster lineup. So let's kind of get these scoops out of the way quickly so we can move on to the spells. Notice the fact I said spells. Yes, I am not running any traps. So let's take a little look and see what we've got. And I'll talk about why. Of course, that is quite a lot of monsters in there. But I mean, you'd want those monsters in hand to drop for Herald, so it's important to have a good monster count. In the spells, I've got 2 Advanced Ritual Art. It's the only ritual spell you really need, to be honest, because if you end up drawing into Hymn of Light or Dawn of a Herald, and you don't have the corresponding card in hand, or something to drop in hand, then it is very, very dead. And it will just sit there and it will clog your hand. It will help give you pretty poor draws. You do not want to have it. You want to rely on this. You've only got 4 rituals to bring out. You can handle it pretty well with this. For, yet again, consistency, we've got Preparation of Rites. You have to run 3 of that. So you can make some quite nice plays because you can literally, if you start a game with Advanced Ritual, Prep, and one of the 2 rituals in hand, you're pretty much set. Because you bring 1 ritual out of preparation with Advanced Ritual Art, goes off to the grave. You then search another one out of your deck, the other one out of your deck with preparation, bring it back, put the other one on the field, and then that puts Saffira and Herald out, which is really difficult for your opponent to get around. So yeah, 3 of those definitely. It's just a no-brainer. Next up, 2 Soul Charge, because you can make plays happen. It's one of the reasons I also like Angeli in there. Of course, you can't special summon back all of those spirit monsters, but Angeli isn't subject to that, so you can bring Angeli's back with this to make rank 4 plays, but you can also bring back the Megumis, you can also bring back other stuff like, of course, a Herald, a Saffira, as long as they're summoned properly, once they're dead. It's just very useful. And the last 3 cards. Now, I do see a lot of people throw traps in for the last 3 or last couple of cards. I've seen people throw in Vanity's Emptiness, I've seen people throw in Decrees. I like to side those, and in my main I keep 3 Upstart Goblins. Yeah, not everyone loves this card, but the thing is, the key to this deck, consistency. You need it. So I find at least, even if it's only for game 1, you want to have them in there because you want to open and end your first turn with that Saffira Herald play. You need to open with that. And it's also good to rush your opponent because a lot of people don't see this coming. A lot of people don't expect you to play this deck because it is a very overlooked deck. So I normally start off with 3 upstarts. Then, based on what I'm playing, I then start siding in afterwards. So you can easily side cards like Vanities. You can side cards like Decree, like MSTs if you need to. It depends on what you're playing. But whatever you do, I always recommend starting with this because you want to thin that deck. So that is the main. That is a standardised 40-card main deck. So that is running with a total of 10 spells and 30 monsters. Okay, now on to the extra deck. On the extra deck, we have got DUEA Guardian. That's my beautiful German one I picked up before the Brotherhood event a week ago. Because, of course, you've got 4s, you've got Herald of Orange Light, Tuner, so that's an easy 6. Then, because of these guys, a nice little target in the grave for Soul Charge, I run 2 different 6s. So I run M7, great for bouncing stuff, really nice card, and then Food and Strike Bouncer can be very useful depending on the situation you're in. Now on to the 4s. Diamond Dyer, great at popping stuff. It just removes obstacles if you need to get something out of the way. I can't really say any more than that. I run 1 Arc. I used to run 2, but there's a reason I've cut down to 1 because it's not as relevant, but there's a better card I put in instead of it. But still, it's a very useful card. You can put it out as a wall if you need to. If you're playing Giga, you can beat over stuff like armors with it, so you can quite comfortably put it out and let it just take any hits, because you can knock the material off to keep it alive. Black Corn, because some things need to be sent to a graveyard, and that burn damage can help a lot. The reason now why I've only got 1 Arc, because I've now got 2 Castels. Castel is an amazing, amazing card. The fact that you can send something back to your opponent's deck, I mean, come on, that's good. That can really disrupt a lot of your opponent's plays. It goes over stuff like Shadows, which you do not want to send to the graveyard. It's awesome. I really can't put more emphasis on how good this card is. It's won me a lot of games. Exciton, you're running 4s, you need to have at least one of them. Enough said. Dweller, we all know what it does, we all know why it's great, and you do have Waters in here as well, so you can get him on his higher attack value. Pretty straightforward. Emerald helps you with drawing, helps you thin out your grave and balance it, so you can get him out, put 3 back, rebalance the grave to make it easy to get Christia out, but you can also use it to recycle these guys, so that way you can get more plays off of Advanced Ritual Art. Kana Geigen. Yeah, a lot of people don't realise this, but the one real weakness to this deck is Breakthrough Skill. Yeah, of course, you can negate Breakthrough Skill with Herald because it can negate trap spells, all sorts. But the main problem is, if your opponent uses Breakthrough Skill in the grave of targeting it, then you can't stop it because that's a card effect and not a card activation. So if you really get those 2 on the field, Saffira and Herald, and you want to cement your play and keep them alive, then you want to make one of these as soon as possible and keep him out there because he will prevent your opponent getting around that Herald with those breakthroughs. And breakthroughs are around a lot now because it's a very popular card, especially with things like Shadows around. We've got Rhapsody. Great card. It's won me a lot of matches. It's nice to be able to empty your opponent's graveyard out. It's very, very useful. Levalval Chain. You can make some great plays off of this, especially if you open up with, say, maybe Nicotar Maritam or something like that to make a 4, and you've got something in your hand such as maybe Preparation of Rites and, for example, one of the 2 Saffira or Herald. The whole idea is that you can make this guy, you can use his effect, ditch advanced ritual art to a graveyard, and then suddenly this is more live. You can then prep it back, search, and you can make that play. So yep, great. And then a bit of a weird one, yeah, a bit more of a tech option. My last card is this. Tiramisu. If you're in a situation where you have those Angelis available, accessible, whether you're soul chosen them back or you've managed to keep them on the field, you can go into this. It's a really great 4. And it's a nightmare for most people. The ability to go into this guy, or this woman, detach, send 2 of your opponent's cards back to the deck. Sure, it sends cards back to your deck as well, but effect this is just so strong. A lot of players just really hate to see this card, and they do not expect to see it in a deck like this. Sure, it doesn't reap the benefits that you get from things like Chateau and Ticket, because of course you're not running a full Medallia engine, but you can do this. It has an effect still. It's really still quite nasty. Yeah. So there we go. That is my 15 card extra deck. Not going to go for a side really, because that's really depends on what kind of event you're playing, as well as the decks that are floating around, which the decks at the moment are changing quite a lot. I've seen a lot more interest going towards things like Burning Abyss, but it's a case of seeing how things settle right now. Of course, things like Dante, he shot up in price this morning actually, so we'll have to see what happens with that. But yeah, normally in the side I recommend things like, of course, Decree, like Vanity's Emptiness, if you can pick them up, because I know they're quite expensive right now, like MSTs. You can even throw in creature swaps, it's quite hilarious in this deck, especially if you bring out a spirit, swap for your opponent, and then let spirit bounce back. But yeah, if anyone wants any advice, or wants to kind of just throw a few ideas around, then feel free to reply or message me, whatever. I'm happy to help. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. This is Sushikage. Over and out. Bankai.